Hi, everybody. This is Heather Coleman, intuitive medium, spiritual coach, and Reiki Master Yoga practitioner. So today we are going to be talking about could you be clairsentient? So on this topic of could you be clairsentient, there are really three main things we're going to look at. We're going to look at what is clairsentience or clairsentient person? What is it? How could you tell? What would be some signs of clairsentience? And how to manage clairsentience. We're going to look at those three things. So what clairsentience is, it is similar to empathy or being an empath. It is very similar. An empath is someone who can feel the feelings of others, the emotions of others, as if they are their own, if they are either in the same room or in a direct interaction. So sitting in maybe a waiting room at a doctor's office with a stranger, or being on the telephone with someone, whether it's someone you know or someone you haven't met, or a Zoom call. Now, a clairsentient is someone who can feel the feelings of others regardless of time, distance, or space. So an example of how this can work is let's just say you wake up one day feeling different than you normally feel. Let's say you are feeling lethargic, and let's say you're a morning person. You normally wake up feeling very balanced and ready to start the day. But maybe one day you wake up feeling lethargic, as if you don't want to get out of bed. And you're thinking, maybe I'm getting sick, or maybe I didn't sleep well. I don't know why I feel lethargic this morning because I normally do not. So let's just say this happens on a Tuesday, okay? This is a case scenario of how clairsentience can work. So let's say this happens to you on a Tuesday. That Friday, that particular Friday, let's just say again, let's say in your place of work, let's say you're working as a dental hygienist, okay? So a medical setting, but generally not where very sick people come. But let's just say when you go into work on Friday as a dental hygienist, there's a patient who comes in who is just recovering from being very sick from something, let's say fibromyalgia, chronic fibromyalgia that really saps the energy. And you have a direct interaction with this person, and they share with you that they've been feeling very lethargic. And it dawns on you that you have been feeling the way that that person feels. So that's an excellent example of clairsentience because it happened not during a direct interaction with the person. And let's also add that let's say this was someone you were meeting for the first time, so someone you did not know. And this is where clairsentience can get confusing. Another way this could work is, let's say that you begin to notice your mood really changing in ways that it normally doesn't. Let's say you're usually a very calm, sort of even keel mood. And let's just say one day you notice that your mood is all over the place and that your mind is racing. And let's say you're not normally like that. Let's say that happens to you. And then later that same day, you get a call from a family member who is having a crisis. Let's say a teenage nephew. You hear that they're having a crisis. And then it sort of dawns on you, I've been feeling what my nephew is feeling, and maybe a bit of what my sister, his mother, is feeling. So this is how clairsentience can work. And I will say that it can and does often overlap with empathy. So those couple of examples I gave you, those sorts of situations could indeed be a sign that you are a clairsentient. The biggest thing I like to say, and this would apply to empaths as well, as far as what would be some signs, or how could you tell that you might be a clairsentient, feeling a certain way, but not normally how you feel. I'll use another example. I normally do not have stomach pains or digestion issues that are painful or bloating. But for a couple of days, I noticed that when I ate, I was getting sort of a odd shooting pain in the left lower abdomen. And I was very bloated, and it just felt like digestion was very painful. This is happening for a few days. And this does not normally happen to me. There are certain digestive issues that I am prone to, such as constipation, but that is not normally one of them. Well, I didn't really know why this was happening. I thought I had eaten something bad. Well, 2 days after this started happening, I thought it was gone and then it would come back and then it would go away again. My son, who was very intuitive, very psychic, said, I think you're feeling what Ashley feels. And that is our cat, Ashley, who does seem to have some digestive problems. And sure enough, and I want to highlight this aspect of things because this is another sign of clairsentience. As soon as I paused and said, okay, wait a minute, maybe these weren't my digestive issues. Maybe I'm feeling what my cat feels. They all went away and didn't come back. And what I mean are the specific digestive issues I had had, this real bloating with my stomach sticking way out, this shooting pain in that lower left abdomen. It all went away. As soon as my attention went to this idea that, wait a minute, maybe I'm feeling something that is not my own feeling. And again, the lethargy, it's interesting that that came through because when this happened, I was feeling lethargic, which I don't normally. And my cat doesn't really behave lethargically, but she's very chill. So with her, it can be hard to tell if she's feeling lethargic because she's already very laid back. So this is the other key with clairsentience. If you are feeling something, whether it's physical or mental, like a change in the way your mind is working, or emotional, and you're saying, geez, I just don't know why I'm feeling this way, a good litmus test is to pause and really just notice what you're feeling. And this is a big thing anyway, just taking the time to pause, breathe, go inward and observe what you're feeling. Sometimes that alone is enough to help you realize that you might be feeling something clairsentiently. In other words, you really, to help you realize whether what you're feeling is not your own. So, just setting the intention to have the awareness and then taking some time to pause, to breathe, and to notice what you're feeling, and then to ask the question, let's just sort through what I'm feeling mentally right now. Let's see what I'm feeling emotionally. Let's see what I'm feeling physically. How much of this is mine? Is it possible that some of what I'm feeling is coming from some other source of information? Sometimes just that alone is enough to help you distinguish. Clairsentience is a gift and it's a way to access information. For me and all of the clairsentience I've ever known, there's a reason for it. And again, it's the same reason. That's why I say myself and all the clairsentience I've ever met, whether that's friends, mentors that I've had, guides, clients of mine, the information is coming in for a reason to help you understand something. So once you recognize what you're feeling and why, for everyone I've ever known, myself included, the symptoms go away. Like using the example of my kitty cat, when I felt lethargic and I felt very bloated and painful digestion, I said, oh, I've got to get her to the vet. And I set the intention and I'm calling the vet, in fact, this week. Now that I realized how serious this is, whatever's happening with her, I was able to set a different intention. I was able to prioritize getting her to the vet. So that's the other piece to this, is that clairsentience is a gift. And so the more you can recognize it and utilize it for the greater good of yourself or whoever's feeling you're feeling, the less this will be overwhelming to you. And I will say that it will happen more, but if the thought of that is overwhelming to you, the key is to say, how can I manage this? And I'll give you 3 final tips in terms of managing clairsentience. And keep in mind, some of this will overlap with other gifts. One is to ask your higher self and or spirit guides to slow down the influx of information that you're receiving. Because when you're feeling the emotions or physical sensations of someone else, you are getting information. So the first step, if you're feeling overwhelmed as an empath or clairsentient, first step is to ask your higher self or guides to slow down that flood of information. The second step, I should say, is to write. So this is only if you're overwhelmed. If you're not overwhelmed with this, you may not need to do this step, but these are the 3 steps if you're overwhelmed. 1, ask your spirit guides, higher self, to slow down the information. Step 2, write down what you're observing and feeling. Getting it onto paper will help you to better understand it. Most people get overwhelmed with these sorts of gifts because they don't entirely understand what's happening. So the writing is really important. And then finally, the 3rd step is take action. And that may be different depending on the situation. Sometimes the only action to take, and this is totally fine, is to say, oh, okay, now I better understand what it's like to be this person or to feel what my pet is feeling. Sometimes it's just so that you can understand the other person or the other pet, your animal, better. So sometimes it is just so you can understand. Other times, and I use the example of my cat, it's so that you can take appropriate action. Again, I've had other examples, I won't get into details, but like with my kids where I've been able to feel physical sensations and contact doctors or specialists, mental sensations too, contact their therapists, because I'm like, oh, this is what they're feeling. So taking action, and again, that was a medical example. I've been able to feel a lot of what my children feel medically speaking. But maybe someone in your life, if you, let's say you realize one day, geez, you know something, I think I've been feeling a lot of what my cousin or my sister is feeling. She or he is going through a really tough time right now. And so if you realize, let's say one day you've been feeling overwhelmed, burnout, or worried, whatever it is, because your loved one is going through a rough time, you say, oh, I'm feeling these things that they're feeling. Maybe what you're able to do is reach out to them, whereas maybe that wasn't high on your agenda, but maybe you're going to bump that up to the top of your list. I'm going to reach out to them and I'm going to make time to listen. I'm going to ask them to get out lunch. So that often is just that, setting that intention that we're going to support that person in some way is enough to get that influx of clairsentience to slow down or to stop. Or again, to make that clairsentience less overwhelming. So maybe you're feeling what your brother's feeling, you call him up, you make a date to get together, and you're still feeling a bit of what he's feeling, but it's not overwhelming you. So I hope this video is helpful. Subscribe to my YouTube channel to learn more about all things metaphysical. We've got yoga meditations, and they really are a combination of both. And check out my website for upcoming groups, for information on how to book sessions. And I thank you for being here, and I wish you all the best on your spiritual journey. Namaste.